G'day everybody, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today I'm going to do the final part in the Kuzma 4.11-inch arm setup on the Kuzma Stabi turntable. So there's a couple of things that I didn't cover in the last episode of this, well now what will be a 4-part series. And the last things that I want to talk to you about is the adjustment of the VTA. So the 4.11-inch arm has a VTA adjustment tower, which allows you to literally adjust the VTA while you're listening to a record. You can actually dial in the height of the arm to and you can hear the changes that happen when you adjust the VTA adjustment. If you sit the arm down or the cartridge down into the groove more, you get more emphasis in the lower octave area of the presentation. If you lift the VTA up like this, you get more of the leading edge of the stylus into the groove, and that tips the upper frequencies up a little bit more. So you can just get that. Obviously what we're looking for is a lovely flat position on in the groove of the record, and that is literally adjustable on the fly as you go. So we'll talk about that. I'll do a little bit of adjustment for you so you can see that happening when I turn the camera around. And the other thing I want to talk to you about, and this is a bit of an area where some say it's better and others say it isn't, and that is the horizontal and vertical damping that is also a feature of the 4.11-inch arm. So I have the damping in at the moment, both the vertical and the horizontal damping. So we'll go through that. We'll talk about how that is set up. The other good thing about the horizontal and vertical damping on this arm is that you can literally lift the paddles up essentially out of the oil. It's a very viscous, thick oil that sits in 2 baths, if you like, and the paddle sits down in the oil. Now, there's some changes in what happens with that. We'll talk about that toward the end of the video. The beautiful thing about that is that you can lift the unscrew and screw the paddle up out of the oil and do the same thing for both the vertical and the horizontal, so that it's not having any effect. And we'll turn the camera around now. We'll have a look at some of these things that I'm just talking about now, and then we'll have a fiddle around with some of the adjustment. I'll show you how all that works, and then we'll come back and talk about what I'm hearing, the differences in the 4.11-inch arm as opposed to the Stabi reference arm that was on this turntable prior to the 4.11 being installed. So hang around, we'll turn the camera around now and we'll talk a little bit about those adjustments. Okay everybody, so here we are at the business end of the arm here, and as you can see there, that is this is the vertical damping bath, and you can see, if we zoom in there a little bit more, I'll try and get there so you can see the light. You can see the glistening of the oil in there. I'll back off a little bit, and then if we move the arm out and we lift the arm up and down, you can see what's happening. That oil that is sitting in that oil bath there, and that's where we're getting the damping for the vertical plane. If we go down here, you can see the horizontal bath, and this is again full of this very thick oil, and it has a paddle in it, as you can see. That's it right there. Zoom out a bit, so there it is right there, and that's adjustable with a little grub screw there, and then a 1.5 Allen key goes into the top there and adjusts that up and down into the oil bath. Same thing applies up here. We've got a grub screw here which we can back off. Just put the arm back in. Grub screw here that we can just back off a little bit, and then we can put a 1.5mm Allen head in there and screw and adjust that paddle up and down. So that is the damping system on this Kuzma 4.11-inch arm. So we move over to the VTA tower here. So the VTA tower has a locking arm. So this locks across here, and we can't do anything here. It won't move. If we leave it this way, then we can adjust the arm, and we've got increments here, which you can see down there. And what essentially what happens here, hopefully we can see this if I put the camera down here, and I adjust this, hopefully you can see this moving down. Actually, if you look at that little gap in there, between there and there, you should be able to see this that gap getting smaller and smaller. And then if we go the other way, you'll see that gap getting bigger and bigger. And that's just from adjusting literally the whole height of this tone arm. Assembly just literally moves up and down so that we get, and what we're looking for here on the cartridge is we're looking for this plane across the top of the cartridge here. So let me get something to point with this. So that is the top of the cartridge there, along there, that line along just under right in there. So what we're looking for is we're looking for that to be directly level, perfectly horizontal to the plane of the record. So that's what we're looking to get when we've got this dialed in properly. And obviously, if we lower the thing, then the cartridge sits back in the back of the groove, and we get some lower octave, if you like, emphasis. And then if we lift it up, we get a tilt back this way, and we're in the leading edge with the stylus here, which we can focus in on. Might not be able to see it behind the guard at the moment. I've always got this guard on because this is a pretty expensive cartridge. You'd hate to knock the cantilever off this. It'd be pretty expensive to fix it. So that is essentially the adjustment. We've spoken about bias or anti-skate down there in the previous video. So what we might do is we might set up a record on the turntable now, and then we'll put a VTA protractor at the back of it, and we'll see if we can film the adjustment so that you can physically see what happens when we turn the VTA up and down. Hang around for that. Okay, everybody, here we go. So I've zoomed in here and set all this shot up, and you can see the protractor in behind the back there. So what we're looking for is we're looking for that line between above 18 and below 20. That's the line where we just happen to be on. And if we run that line across from the front of the cartridge, and then we continue that line right through, and you can see the very back of that line just behind the back of the head shell and behind the very back of the cartridge. Now that suggests to me that we are pretty much in line with a flat alignment to the groove. So we're actually sitting on a record, and that looks to be pretty good to me. So by turning the VTA up and down, you can imagine that we're going to tilt that cartridge either up in the back by lifting the VTA, or down in the back and up in the front, and that would put more of the back of the stylus into the groove, and give us, as we said before, more emphasis in the lower octave, as opposed to a little more emphasis in the upper frequencies if we tilt forward. So that's the adjustment. That essentially is where I'd like to be lined up. I'll come back to you and talk to you about my final thoughts about this tone arm in the system and on my Stabi turntable, and we'll go through that process next. So this is the sort of final part of this series on setting up the Kuzma 4.11 inch arm on the Stabi turntable. And I just probably want to wrap up by giving you my impressions of the arm and just what it's done sonically to my turntable and to my analog setup. So the best way to describe what I'm hearing, and my reference would be comparing it to the Stoggy reference 9-inch arm that I had on the turntable prior to the 4.11. Now, the sort of differences between those two arms would be best described like this. There's more openness in the presentation. There's less tracking noise in the presentation. There is a better rhythmic drive. So the lower octave articulation and drive is just quite a substantial jump up from the Stoggy reference. There's just more definition around the presentation. The Kuzma 4.11 works brilliantly with the Lyra Etna SL. So there's just a real synergy there, and I hope you guys have been hearing it with all the music I've been playing. I've dropped quite a lot of shorts today because I've been in my room listening to some music that I hadn't heard for quite a long while, actually. Some Australian stuff as well, some Men at Work, and a little bit of Goanna and what have you, and some Australian music. I'm feeling very nostalgic today, so I thought I'd drag out some Aussie stuff that I would have bought way back in the early 80s, as a first pressing release when they first came out. As a young bright-eyed fellow about 10, 12, 13, 14, I was buying music back when I was that young. And just hearing that stuff again on this setup is quite amazing, because you sort of get used to how something sounds, and you sort of think, well, that's just the era that it was. But then when you put it on a really resolving system, and some of those records I haven't played since before I even had the Stabi turntable, so we really are going back quite a while. And it's just amazing how much detail is there, how much detail is retrieved by the 4.11, the openness of that analog retrieval in the groove and what's presented in the room is astonishing. I've said this to quite a few people when I've been typing return messages to people about how I'm rediscovering my music collection, how I'm hearing parts of music I didn't really even know were there, or if they were really veiled, they were really in the background. There was something there, but I really couldn't work out what it was. Whereas now there's a real bringing forward of all of that micro detail that's in the groove. Is all being fleshed out and able to come out in the presentation. And some of that's the new room setup that's happening now. Some of it's certainly the Watchdog subwoofer that's now very much engaged in everything you're hearing. Someone asked me they wish they could be in the room to have a listen to what I'm hearing, and the best way to describe it is sort of dial up what you're hearing, the best recordings I can do on YouTube, by about another 30 to 40%, because that's what it feels like here in the room. It is astonishingly good. I really find myself lost in this room. I can lose hours and hours just going back through my music and listening to things, or if I need to have a listen to that, I can get on to the digital side of things with the playback design set up, and I'm just as equally blown away by what's happening there with the new room setup as well. So, but today we're talking about the Kuzma 4.11-inch arm, and it really is a revelation. It's the detail retrieval, the adjustment in the tone arm is literally infinite, from azimuth control to tangential control, to bias control, to VTA control. There's so much adjustment there in the arm's ability to be able to find a perfect sweet spot literally with every album, and with really not a lot of mucking around either, to be honest. It's a beautiful, beautiful arm that Frank Kuzma has designed, and it's an absolute joy to listen to music with that arm on that deck. It's just something absolutely amazing. Very, very, very happy and lucky to have it, and it's just been a revelation. So the openness, the lower end bass retrieval is the two really big standout points over the Stoggy reference arm. It's just as quick, and I was frightened it mightn't be quite as quick being a longer arm, but it's just as quick as the 9-inch Stogie reference. It really is, when that really pulsating lower octave drive is there, it's absolutely there and as quick as you like. The dynamic swings, so the transient swings in dynamics are almost make me giggle at times when I listen to music that I didn't think could do that. With this setup, I find it does it. So there's that real aliveness to the music. I think that was something else I typed to one of my subscribers today, is this room just feels so alive when you play music in it now. When I play records, I'm blown away at how it turns on a dime, how it can be here and then it can be there almost instantly. There's a real nimbleness to the presentation, and it was there before, but it's just at a new level now with the 4.11. So it's a match made in heaven on the Stabi turntable, I can tell you. And once it's dialed in properly, it's just everything sounds better that you put on that turntable than it ever did before. So that's probably the best way to describe the changes that I'm hearing. If you've got any questions, or if you have any specific questions you'd like me to answer, please leave them in the comments below this video. There will be another video which I'll just simply title, Wally Tools Setup. We will get around to doing that when my good friend Travis gets up here with the setup. We will put it through the system, and we'll see where we were and see if there's any more adjustment that we can get over and above the setup that I've done literally to the letter of Frank Kuzma's manual for the setup of the 4.11. I've done it that way on purpose. I've had a few twiddles and tweaks and things since then to basically see what I can find, and sometimes I've gone a little bit backwards and other times I've found a little bit. So I really want to just focus on the setting the arm up according to how the manual describes doing it, and that's what we've done here now. The next experiment will be to put the Wally Tools system over it and actually see if we can get any further sonic improvement, and if we can, what we did to do that. So that's all coming in a later video when I get the Wally Tools system up here. We'll film it, we'll go through it, you'll see it all happen here on the channel. So thanks very much for watching, and thanks very much for listening and participating in the comments below and on the videos for the 4.11. I hope you've got something out of this. The whole idea of this was to really put a series together so that if anybody was going to set a 4.11 up, I could give you a video walkthrough of just how to do it. I want my channel to be a little bit educational as well. I've got, as I said, around 40 years experience in this crazy hobby, and so I've learned a few tricks along the way, and I want to impart those onto you. I want to help you with your setups, and so please don't forget, if you've got anything specific you would like answered, if I can answer it, I will, and if I can't, I'll find somebody who can. So thanks very much. Love having you guys all on board. Please, if you haven't liked the video, consider doing that by giving it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, and I know a heck of a lot of you aren't, still love you watching what I'm doing here, but I would love you to press the subscribe button and the bells for the notifications when something new drops. Would love to have more of you on board as subscribers to the An Aussie Audiophile family. So until next time we meet, it's bye for now.